Okay everyone, so in this video, let's talk about the Windows command line. And if you're wondering what the command line is, this is a text interface or a command screen, as you can see on our screen here in my Windows machine. And it will be able to allow you to navigate files inside of your machine without you having to click on the graphical user interface. So when you say CLI, that will be called a command line interface. And when we say graphical user interface, that is just pertaining to, let's say for example, I have an icon here. And for me to be able to navigate the content of my device, I'll just be using the icons or the graphical interface that is here, that is showing up on my screen, that will contain the following icons. And it will be quite easy for a normal user, or let's say a beginner user, to understand that this is the desktop folder, this is the downloads folder, this is the pictures folder, and so on. Now with the command line interface, or what we call the command prompt in Windows, in other machines or in other operating systems, they call this the terminal. We will be maximizing the use of commands and prompts instead of using the mouse. So meaning we will be typing the commands for us to be able to navigate through our machine's directories, find files and folders, and so on. Now for us to be able to open the command prompt here, what we can do, just go to the type here to search bar, and then try to type CMD, and you would see it will open the command prompt, and it prompts us with the options that we have here. We can run as an administrator. So normally, one of the things that you should be doing at the beginning of installing your operating system will be to create an account that is not an administrator. For security purposes, it's good that you have a guest account or a personal account and not the administrator account. You usually just keep the administrator account as a separate account in your machine, and you would want to run it only when you need some administrative privileges. Now moving back here, as you can see here, if you click on that, that will open. Right now I have two command prompts that are now open in my machine. So if I go and try to close that again and then run as an administrator, let's say CMD, and run as administrator, you would see you will be prompted with Windows command processor, and you would see here that we are now no longer just an ordinary user. We are an administrator, and there's this administrator tab here saying that you're an administrator, that you will be having more privileges than a regular user. So now, the question here, why would we want to make use of the command prompt instead of just using the graphical user interface? Even though we know that we need to memorize, or let's say be familiarized with different commands when we are using the command prompt. So the idea here is that if you're using the graphical user interface, there are certain tasks that you cannot accomplish much faster and quicker. Some tasks will be quicker to accomplish using the command prompt. For example, you have your Microsoft Windows and you would want to rename 100 files in a folder. That's going to be very intensive. It's going to be a very intensive task. However, if you're going to be renaming 100 files in a directory inside of the command prompt or our command line interface, it will only take less than a minute. With just a single command line or command line command, you will be able to automate the task that you have for renaming those 100 files by simply using a batch file or a script that you will be running instantly. Now let's go and try to go to the documents folder here, and I'm going to create here a test directory. So I right click on the screen, I type test directory 1, and then I would want to have some files here. Let's say text document, and I'm going to type here test notepad test 1, then create a new file, notepad test 2.txt. So now we have inside of our documents directory, we have the test directory 1, and we have our Windows PowerShell directory, and inside of the test directory 1, we have notepad test 2, we have notepad test 1, and what we want to do is to move the contents of all of the files of test directory 1, and I would want to have, I'll be creating a new folder, and I'm going to say backup test directory 1. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to go here and I'm going to collect all of this, copy it, then go back to backup test directory here and paste it. Now we were able to create a backup of the test directory 1. Okay?